Good evening. Welcome to the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education regular public meeting, January 30th, 2020. Please join me in the salute to the flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Saradaki, will you please call the roll? Mrs. Bauer? Here. Sorry. Mrs. Boroff? Here. Mrs. Brody? Here. Mrs. Mitchell? Here. Mrs. Williams? Here. Mrs. Winkler? Here. Mr. Murray?
Here.
Dr. Kulikowski? Here. Quorum is present. Thank you, Mrs. Saradaki. Prior to the start of this meeting, we met in executive session, and at that time, we spoke about the personnel agenda, the HIB report, the legal status report, and the suspension and detention report. At this time, we have additions to the agenda, such as 3S for field trips, 1 BUS for staff training, and the removal of 3 OBB. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of which public bodies have a business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted on the Board of Education offices located at 512 Cedar Street, Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Such notice was provided in written notice forwarded to the Star Ledger, the Times, the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, the Borough Clerk of Fanwood, in the revised annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings adopted on August 29th, 2019. At this time, we'll have our instructional update, and we're going to be hearing from the Blue Notes from the Scotch Plains Fanwood alumni.
And first, we would like to invite Deb Lambert from the PTA to the mic.
Good evening, everyone. Let me get my glasses on so I can actually read what I wanted to say to you. As Dr. Mass kindly said, my name is Deb Lambert, and I am the Vice President of the Scotch Plains Fanwood District-wide PTA Council. I'm standing in tonight for our wonderful Council President, Regina Gannon, who unfortunately, due to terrible family tragedy, is not able to be here, and believe me, otherwise she would certainly be standing here instead of me. But if she were here, I know that she would say that Scotch Plains Fanwood is very unique because we have a district-wide PTA council. The council is made up of representatives from each of our 8 schools, each of the 8 school PTAs, including their presidents, as well as representatives from community-based organizations that serve the needs of young people. Among other things, we try to organize, guide, and mentor one another through the process of running a busy PTA chapter. Did you know that January is New Jersey Schools Board of Education Month? Yes, that's a thing. And we are, of course, thankful to our board service year-round. But this month is a time to raise public awareness of the roles and responsibilities of local boards of education and to thank them for their volunteer efforts. And I wanted to repeat, for their volunteer, unpaid, but very dedicated efforts. If I could take 2 pieces apart, sorry. The school board keeps attention focused on progress toward the school district's goals and maintains a 2-way communications loop with all segments of the community. Serving on a school board requires unselfish devotion of time and service to carry on the mission and business of the school district. In total, New Jersey school boards oversee 584 school districts, which in turn operate 2,500 public schools and provide educational services to nearly 1.4 million people, for 1.4 million children. School boards set the policies for our schools and make important decisions affecting curriculum, financing, and staffing. A decade ago, way back in 2010, then Scotch Plains Fanwood PTA Council President Gina Giancota honored the Board of Education for the first time for their commitment, energy, and intellect. This evening has since become an SPF tradition that we in the council look forward to. So tonight, we would like to present you with a very small but sincere token of our appreciation. When your name is called, I'd like to ask Debbie Fitzgerald and Nicole Verga to come up and help me. When your name is called, if you could please come up and receive your gift from the PTA Council. So, Dr. Kolakowski, if you wouldn't mind, our PTA, our Board of Education President. Thanks. Evan Murphy, our Vice President. Nancy Bauer.
Not going against the order.
Deb Brody. Didn't see Deb. Oh, there they are.
Okay.
Okay. Karen Mitchell. Tanya Williams. Stephanie Suriani.
Not here
Not
this
here
evening.
today. Sorry. Amy Bora. Thank you. Terrific. And Amy Winkler. Thank you. Thank you all very much, and I'll hand this over to your next one.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Lambert. If you would please give our sincere thanks, pass that on to Ms. Gannon. And we're sorry she couldn't be with us, but thank you and your other PTA council members for being here this evening and thinking of us, like yourselves, how we depend on you and your volunteerism as PTA council. Some of us have come through those ranks, and we appreciate you, and we love what we do, and that's why we do it with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And maybe, Dr. Kulikowski, it might be a good time to mention that part of the collaboration is our upcoming coffee on Monday evening.
On Tuesday evening, February
Tuesday evening.
4th at 7:30 at Park. Yes, we will be seeing you and your other members again, as well as anybody from the public who is available that would like to come. And we will be there with Dr. Mast for our coffee with the superintendent.
I think it's a terrific thing. Thank you, Dr. Kolakowski. Tell the audience, hi, you are so wonderful and so open with everyone so they can ask questions. And we'd love to have a full house.
Likewise, I would agree. And thank you for the reminder, Mrs. Bauer. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so next, we will bring up the Park Blue Notes.
Not going to come up quite yet.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dr. Mast. You say
So
better.
next, yes, we are going to soon hear from the Blue Notes, but tonight you are going to experience the fruition of a community building project. I am personally so excited about the reawakening of SPF School's alma mater. As you may know, an alma mater is not simply an ordinary song, rather it is the official anthem of an educational institution. The benefit of having a Scotch Plains Family District alma mater is to incorporate the power of using song to foster a sense of belonging and pride in the community. The alma mater is an anthem that provides a point of connection and school pride for both our current student body and our alumni. Tonight, you will see that alumni have joined the Blue Notes to show that it is a multi-generational tradition. I know that singing isn't necessarily everybody's thing, but I also know that a love for music is very present in all our hearts. We also know that music invokes lifetime memories and builds the best in communities. Ellery Howell, a Park 8th grade student, has worked very hard on this traditional arrangement to make it an anthem available for all our schools by combining the melody and words. She has worked closely with Barbara Prestridge, the Arts Integration Specialist. Thank you, Barbara Prestridge, for including this project in your arts integration work. Thank you, Nick Ellis, for supporting this work. Thank you, Ellery. Where is Ellery? Thank you, Ellery, for conducting the first. Thank you for conducting the first unveiling of the 21st Century SPF alma mater tonight. Also, thank you, Ms. Jenkins and the Blue Notes for being our revivalists and making tonight's performance possible. Thank you, Wayne Millette, our District Fine Arts Supervisor, for making this part of the district choral and instrumental repertoire. Finally, thank you to our alumni representatives who will be joining the Blue Notes: Robin Broadbent, Megan Fernandez, Barbara Prestridge, Bing Prestridge, Kelly Ruggieri, Mary Snow, and our very own BOE member, Tanya Williams. So at this point, I would like to ask the BOE and administration to move to the audience, and I would like to ask the Blue Notes to move to the horseshoe here in the middle, and we will relaunch our alma mater tradition. Thank you. He's with me.
Excuse me, pardon me. I go down there.
Beside the Watchung Mountain, stand our school so dear. All our precious years of childhood, we have spent them here. Forward ever be our watchword, conquer and prevail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, such leads and all hail. When across the world we wander, this will be our song. Honor, love, and true devotion, all to here belong. Forward ever be our watchword, conquer and prevail. Hail to thee, our alma mater, stars, flames, and wood all hail.
Before the Blue Notes leave, I do have an interesting story about the alma mater, because when I first arrived at Scotts Plains High School,
Cameron.
I went to the first football game And after the game, I noticed, or either be during, it depends on the tradition of the school, but in most schools, the alma mater is played either after the national anthem, or it's played at the conclusion of the game. And I noticed after the first football game that I attended here as principal, it wasn't played in either case. And I asked at the time the director of Fine Arts, what happened to the alma mater? And he said, we've never played it, at least not during his time. He didn't recall, and nor did he have a copy of it. Ultimately, I did get a copy of it. But I can remember in my previous life as a football coach, I would always tell my players after the game, win or lose, we go over and we kneel in front of the band and we show respect to the fans and to the marching band that cheered us on during the game. And if you've ever been to a Rutgers football game, the team, win or lose, they go over to the marching band and they show respect for all the fans that are there supporting them. So I'm hoping that this, revival of our alma mater can carry into next year for the first football game and kind of build that camaraderie between the team, the fans, and the marching band. So thank you. That was outstanding.
Yes, I would think so.
Thank you to the Blue Notes. That was absolutely beautiful. And thank you, Dr. Heisey, for your words of our past history.
Should we move it's like right on top of the chairs. Maybe it didn't work.
Yeah, I think most of them work. Is this musical program you need?
May be impossible. She's trying to bring them back.
Oh, it's always in dirty dancing. And not in the school. I practiced last week. Very hard.
Did anybody else want to make any comment about the beautiful alma mater sung by our Blue Notes? Mrs. Bauer?
Well, what I wanted to ask is if we could have a clip put on the website.
Thanks.
So that it's
I just sent it to Dr. Mass.
Second. Well, or I was going to say pulled out of our Board of Ed so that it's there, and I wondered if it also would be something that would start and the students would learn all the way through. So by the time they are at graduation in high school, they already know it because they learned it in elementary school, they sang it, and it's not just at the football games, but it's also, at other SPF events and special occasions. And the students did a phenomenal job. I wanted an encore.
Yeah, Nancy, I videotaped it, and I sent it to Dr. Mass, so maybe she can get it put up, whatever clip of it. But
Yeah.
I taped it.
With
Plus,
the
we
words.
have it.
With the words.
Yeah.
On the website.
Although Mr. Evans did commit the cardinal sin of videotaping vertical as opposed to horizontal, so just note that for future posterity.
You know that. Spying on me?
I'm sitting next to
You want me to delete it?
you. Can't reshoot it.
You guys can go right in the front. They just want to sit on the right
Seats for the little bit.
They're singing like their own stuff.
Shall we start over again?
Yeah.
You can move up.
Don't bite. Don't bite.
So thank you for coming back in. I know I wanted an encore, but maybe we were just discussing while you were coming back in, putting your performance on the website and with the words so everyone could see it, not just as a part of the recording for the Board of Ed, so they don't have to look through everything, but they see it. And we were talking about students learning at beginning when they begin in Scotch Plains, and they sing it at special occasions. And maybe there will be opportunities for you all to, you did such a great job to teach it to the elementary school students. I'm sure they would think it was cooler if it came from you all. But by the time people get to graduation, then it would be, people would know it, and it would be very special. So it meant a lot. Thank you for sharing it with us tonight.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming out tonight, and your performance was absolutely beautiful. I really thank you for doing that just for us, and the fact that it was publicized and it'll be on the website. In addition to the little clip that we'd like to put on the website, it'll be on our minutes. And Dr. Heisey, thank you for your kind words and memories about the alma mater, and I agree with you. I hope it is now more regularly performed at events. Anybody else have some words?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Not only are the Blue Notes very talented, but you're very fast. You got out I must say that this is a remarkable board meeting having you here. I've been the superintendent since August 1st, and I think this is my favorite meeting because of you so far. So thank you, and thank you again, Ms. Jenkins. So now you could go quickly.
You can
again.
really go.
Ms. Jenkins, you could exit stage left there.
Thank you again, everybody. Thank you so much.
I love hearing my kids.
It's true.
Thank you. Okay, and then at this time, that ends our instructional update.
It does.
And we'll move on to the public portion of our meeting. In accordance with the Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools bylaw 0164 and 0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments. Maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you come to the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside.
Madam President, if I may, I see we have a lot of new faces to our meeting tonight. If I can just go over again, for the public's sake and the board, to just reconfirm some of the rules regarding public comment.
Please do.
Members of the public, just so you're aware, the board is required by law and has set forth a number of periods throughout the evening for public comment. Again, this period is dedicated to your comments. You are feel free to, as the board president just read out, anyone commenting on anything that's on the agenda gets first priority, but you can comment on anything having to do with the public interest or matters appearing before the board. But it is just that is a period for your comments. The board will take whatever comments you make and take that into consideration when making whatever decisions have to be made. But just so you're aware, if you're up there and you're asking a question looking for an answer, this is a board of 9 members. They can't respond with a singular voice. And in fact, the law actually prevents them from commenting and responding to your questions on a number of matters, in particular personnel or student matters. If you do have a question that you're looking for a particular answer to, the best way to get an answer to your questions is to actually reach out to the administration, whether it be the superintendent, the business office, or your local school, depending on what your issue is. And the administration in this district is very open and very responsive. So if you do have a question about a particular matter, I urge you that would be the best place to do that. This is your time to comment on matters matters so that the board can hear your comments and take into consideration what you have to say. And again, if everyone, as the board president says, has 3 minutes per speaker, so please do use your time efficiently. If you hear my alarm go off, that's just to kind of give you the sign to try to wrap it up. And again, we do have a time limit both to make sure the board's meeting moves forward efficiently, but also to show respect to everyone else who may be wishing to make comments tonight. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Silvestro. So Colleen?
Colleen Gellanella, Scotch Plains. I was here tonight to listen to Blue Notes, but I also wanted to take a couple opportunities just to speak really briefly, to say thank you, as always, for the tremendous things that are happening in our schools. You know, so I was sitting here and I was thinking, here is this wonderful 8th grade young woman, right? But also she's being supported by this incredible community, which included, I believe, mention of 2 administrators who worked with her on that project. You know, and there's not too many schools where that would happen, and certainly not too many communities where that would be going on, or where the superintendent and the Board of Education would be so well aware where that was occurring. So not only is that a testament to the talent in our students, but for a 13-year-old, you know, to feel so connected and have people be so available to her, that really is what I know our schools to be. And I'm so proud always of the incredible things that are happening in our classrooms, in our after-school programs, and just in the whole community surrounding our schools. Which brings me for a very nice transition to the next thing that I wanted to speak about, and that really is the spirit of community that surrounds the Scotch Plains Fanwood schools, and the one piece that is missing, and that piece really being lights on our athletic fields. I know that our school board is constantly faced with challenging decisions about programming and funding, and there's so many difficult pieces that go into making decisions about what is best for our students and for our schools. I do think that this is something that is very long overdue, and we have so much incredible talent that is behind our marching band and on our fields and in all of the programs that we have happening that would benefit from such a decision. And I hope as you move forward with conversations, you have the support of the community behind you, and that you are able to make decisions that will allow this last piece to really bring us together as a full community inside and outside of our schools. So thank you, and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanna. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board?
Hello, my name is Diane Schweitzer, and I said I know from my own Diane Schweitzer from Scotch Plains, New Jersey.
Plains, thank you.
I've had 2 children go through your school system, play sports, do music. You've done an outstanding job. My children are doing great. The one problem, yes, maybe we need lights, but you're not considering the neighbors that are directly being affected. I have a petition here signed by over 25 people, and I haven't even gone to a lot of houses objecting the lights. When they received the letter, many people were unaware exactly what was going on and the impact it's going to have on our neighborhood. Yes, it's great for the school, but they're not living right behind the high school where there's traffic. There's a ton of children on our street. Also, too, the house that is right on the school path was complaining about he picks up a bag of beer cans every weekend as it is now. What's going to happen when the lights are going on? It's going to be more? Who's going to be controlling the traffic and the safety? It's affecting our neighborhood. So yes, it might affect the whole community, but it is impacting the direct neighbors there. When I have 25 signatures now, if you want to have a copy of the petition, but I will have more. I haven't even hit behind the high school or Sunrise or Montrose Avenue too. So there are a lot of people. Yes, the athletes are. It's great for the athletes, but it's also, you have to remember, we're your neighbors. We're impacted. It's not being contained in the high school. It's flowing over into our neighborhood. It's affecting our quality of life. So that's what I'm here to say. You know, because both of my children went through the sports programs here. They're phenomenal. They're great. They build leaders. But you're impacting my everyday life. And that's what I'm objecting about. You can't contain this to the high school. You're overflowing into our house. Right now, the light from the field, I'm across the street on Old Farm, is hitting my house already. And all the traffic and everything. So that's the one thing. If you're going to do this, you really need to inform the neighbors of Old Farm everything that's going on, because that letter was a little vague. It was received late. So I ask you to do that. But I could show you all the people that are objecting to it already. Yes, we have a whole room of people for it, but they're not living next to the high school. I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schweitzer. Diana, you going to give us a copy of that list?
It's not, I will get this one.
Well, we can make a copy of it.
This is a copy for you, but I have
Oh.
more signatures on it. But I've only spent about an hour or two going around just to have it ready. It's good.
Thank you.
So, okay. Thank you. very
Appreciate
much.
it. That's on Debbie. Review, whatever. Okay, thank you.
Three minutes?
State your name and your town, please.
Todd Bozer. I live in Scotch Plains.
Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of the boys soccer program and Coach Tom Brzezinski. And my opinion and my observations from tonight so far have been the Blue Notes talking about tradition and Ms. Schweitzer talking about how the athletics program has built leaders here in our town. And I'm sure everyone here knows, but maybe not everyone else, that Coach Brez has not been rehired for next year. So it's been 41 years of his work here in town. He's over 700 wins, which is the top 5 in this country, in this town. He's number 2 currently overall in the state of New Jersey, and he was not brought back on pretty much a 5-minute phone call telling him thanks, but no thanks. We're not going to bring you back next year. So my thought to that is, where does that decision come from? Are we looking at Coach Brez's history here in town, his accomplishments of, to be honest, that will never be accomplished ever? There's no sports program in this town that will ever reach what he succeeded. And I wish it gets to that way, but the truth is it just will not. And he's been kind of pushed aside as if, okay, he's an older gentleman, in his 70s, and thanks, but that's it. And what are the reasons behind it? He was brought in for an interview for someone who hasn't interviewed in 40 years, as someone that's been coaching here. And it's no secret that soccer carries the athletics in this town. Look at who's going to play college sports next year. There's 10 athletes. That's the ceremony next week or the next couple weeks. 7 of those 10 are soccer players. And ask the girls program, ask the coaches of the girls program. The boys soccer has generated to the popularity of the girls program here in town and has brought those numbers up as we go. And that's what's carrying this town's athletics, is soccer. And now we've taken Coach Brez here, who has done everything. And I'm not going to lie, he's meant everything to me. Okay, in my family, and I've played on all different levels. But all he's done for people in this town, and we've pushed him aside with a 3-minute phone call. Thank you, that's it. 41 years coaching in this town. And that's what we give him, a 3-minute phone call. Thanks, and move on. It's extremely disrespectful for not only an athletics coach, but an educator, an administrator, anyone who's worked in public service. And this is what we've done to him. So I'm here tonight for his backing and whoever the next backing is. And I'm not going to lie, I have children in this town. My wife works here. I'm sure most of you know her. I have children coming up to play. I will support whoever the next coach is. But the fact of how he's been treated, it's extremely disrespectful. Okay, that's my 3 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Moser.
Hello, I'm Jack Manville. I'm currently a junior at the high school.
What town are you from?
Oh, Scotch Plains.
Thank you.
And, well, first off, I'm on the football team. I just want to point that out. But, just to talk about football, it's taught me a lot about a person and, about adversity, and especially in this town, trying to turn things around, bringing in new coaches, and, just trying to bring the culture back to SBF. And, there has been talk between teammates, everyone in school, about lights for the football team, the soccer team. And, it seems to me that everyone is pretty excited about it. And it seems that, all the students are behind it. And, we've always been missing that one thing about football and even sports in general. It's just, bring back that culture, those night games where, people go out and socialize instead of staying at home on a Friday night or Saturday night. And I just think it's a great opportunity to, capitalize on what our sports teams are doing. And, our sports teams are, doing good for the most part, but I think it's important to bring more people out to the games because I had a sister that graduated 4 years before me, and I used to go to the games. There used to be a lot of people there, and we've kind of lost that over the years, and I think this is where we can bring it back. And even besides sports, talking about, academics, I've, loosely talked with Mr. Miller, and one of the things that we brought up and we talked about is, starting practices a little later, because when we're in season, practice at 2:45, and say I need to go to a teacher and get some extra help, it's kind of hard to miss that time. And I talked to Mr. Miller, and he said that potentially if we got lights, we could have later practice times so that, if we need extra help, we could go to a teacher. And there's other possibilities as well, such as, making a club for athletes, like a homework club, so that from 2:24 to 3:30, there's a homework club. So I just think, we have a great opportunity here, and, we have a great town, and, I apologize. This is my first time at a board meeting.
Doing a great job.
But I just wanted to share my thoughts, and I think it's important that, I speak on behalf of the football team as well as the student body as a whole. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeff. And we appreciate your comments, Mr. Manville. Thank you. What's his last name? Manville.
Good evening. My name is Pat Satira. I live in Scotch Plains on Old Farm Road. We've been here for about 30 years now, 2 boys through the school system. And we have a great school system here, and it's nice to hear some of the things that are going on. But unfortunately, I just want to talk a bit about the lights, the lighting that I was here at the last meeting, and we don't have any objections to the lighting itself. We think, that with the technology that they have today, it's going to be fine. But we've lived with band practicing Saturdays and the weekdays, weeknights. We have no problem with that. It's kind of nice to hear it, to a certain point. But with the advent of these lights and with the what it's going to portend, that there's going to be more events, more congestion on our road. We live on Old Farm Road, and we've enjoyed it for many, many years. And there are a lot of aspects of it that are nice. But with too many events, the prospect of having more events, more activities is just going to reach a tipping point here. And all I can say is, you may say, well, you chose to live next to the school. Sure, we did, but I would say, well, walk a mile in our shoes, and you'll see where I'm coming from. So again, it's just we have a lot of trepidations and fear about what this is going to bring. So for that reason, we're really not against the lighting itself, but we're just afraid that there's going to be too many more activities. So in our mind, that's a problem. So anyway, thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Satira.
Good evening, board members. My name is Rob Harmer. I live at 2267 Old Farm Road, the closest house to any field in the school system. I've been a resident since 2002. I've been a coach, an AD, a vice principal from 1998 to 2010 in this town. And currently, I'm a youth football coach, youth basketball coach, youth hockey coach, and girls lacrosse coach in the community. I have 3 kids in the program. As Board of Ed members, your job is to assess the needs of your people and students. One of the biggest needs in this community is overwhelming expansion of youth athletics in the past 10 years and the lack of field time for our athletes. Field hockey, boys and girls lacrosse, youth football, youth soccer, youth track and field. You have thousands of young athletes and not enough quality field time. Lights with 2 turf fields would significantly fulfill this need. Not to mention a world-class band that practices every night on a grass field under parking lights until 9:30 p.m. Don't these musicians and band members also deserve first-class field to practice on? Facts about lights. As an athletic director for the past 16 years in 3 different school districts, I know a little bit about lights. Lights can be turned off on a schedule, never past 9:30. Only 4 to 5 Friday night football games require lights until around 9:30. And there can be different settings for practices, games, so there is no spillage whatsoever. The ability to host county competitions, generating significant revenue for boosters to go back to our students, is unbelievable. The sense of community on a Friday night that will help all of our kids in one place with police presence. This will help generate revenue for local businesses that will donate back to our athletes. The bottom line, I bought a house next to a school. My kids constantly use the fields with friends to play sports at night and hang out. Sometimes there's 15 to 20 boys in my backyard walking down on the fields. I enjoy the band competition every year with my wife on my back deck. It's actually a date night. The ability to walk out of my back gate, coach football and lacrosse is priceless. Walking to watch games is priceless. All because I made a decision to buy a house next to a school. If I didn't like it, I can always put a for sale sign on the front lawn and make a huge profit on a very desirable house. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harmer.
Kevin McSherry, Scotch Plains. My house is directly behind the high school scoreboard. And we've been there for over 20 years. And like last week I described to you, we deal with living by the school. We don't have any complaints. And I don't think any complaints have been filed into the school regarding whether it's the maintenance at 6:30, all the high school sports games. I told you we were most likely up there. The PAL football on Saturday, the travel soccer schedule, now the travel lacrosse games, all that overflow from all those activities go onto our block, Monica and Cedar. And not one word, not one description, not one plan has been related to that. That's the quality of life that I was talking about, that you're pushing it into our evenings. That will be our evenings, what happens during the day. And there hasn't been one word, one description from this committee, from the plan of the fields, the lights, what that impact is going to be. Hasn't been addressed. And we went through this with the parking permits that we had on the block, and now most of the surrounding streets have. And unfortunately, the school board at that time, the attitude was, it's our property, we'll do what we want, and when we get off the property line, it doesn't matter. So we had to fight that at the town level. Because there was no consideration for the people that do live there. And my house is just as close as Mr. Harmon's. I would say it's even closer. Why isn't it being considered, the impact that it has on our street every night now? Because as he said, it's not just going to be the high school sports. It's going to be the revenue generation opportunity to pay for the lights and the field. You're going to use it. You're investing the money. You're going to use these lights. So it's going to be every opportunity you have, those lights will be on and the activities will be on. And again, it will be our street that becomes your parking lot. And I would like to see from the board if that's been considered. And I'll submit my question into the Board of Ed, like you requested. But is that part of the consideration, the impact that it has? And the last thought I'll give you is, a large majority of the individuals in this room are going to get in their car, including you, at the end of this meeting in that parking lot, and you're going to put this place in your rearview mirror. I won't. I'll walk across the street. That's where I live. That's part of the community. And I don't understand why it's constantly this, we have to go through this every 5 years, whether it be the parking issues or now lights, to deal with it. This is where we live. You're going to drive to your house. We'll still be here. And I'd just like that to be a consideration for the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time? There will be an additional opportunity later in the meeting. Seeing no one, we'll close this portion of the board for the open public comment. And we will move on to committee reports. Anybody have a committee report this week? Seeing no one, we'll move on to letters to the board. One LET is a letter from Ms. Hope Alfieri dated January 28th regarding the 2020-2021 school calendar, and she will be replied to tomorrow. Superintendent's report, Dr. Mast.
1S, our out-of-district placement, we approved that at our last meeting. 2S, I would like to have a motion to move the Board of Education affirms the superintendent's decision on the six HIB cases reported in our executive session of January 23rd.
So moved.
Second.
Any comment or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
There's a motion for field trip approvals. I'm asking the board to approve the field trip for the 8th grade Terrell Middle School music teacher. Megan Fernandez is requesting to take a total of 70 people to Winter Garden Theater in New York City. This is the 8th grade annual Broadway trip. It has been a tradition for Terrell Middle School choir students for several years. As the upperclassmen of the program, the students are able to see a professional performance showcasing vocal techniques that are used in the classroom and other performance practices they demonstrate at a concert. And the second field trip is for the band teacher, John Gillick, is requesting to take Terrell Jazz Ensemble to the Heritage Middle School on March 18th. The students will have the opportunity to be evaluated on musical proficiency with regards to jazz music. The students will have an excellent opportunity to watch, listen, and engage with other student musicians as well as professional educators.
So moved. Second.
Any question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
I would like to ask the board to approve the 2019 revisions of the Memorandum of Agreement with our law enforcement officials.
So moved.
Second.
Any question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
5S, we approved the pilot for the block schedule at our last meeting. 6S, I would like to ask the board to approve the proposed 12-month employee 2020-2021 calendar.
So moved. Second.
Any question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
For the personnel agenda, I would like the board to approve the superintendent's recommendations for personnel on the personnel report.
It's all right. It's supposed to be started.
It's supposed to be start, that's it.
Dated January 30th in the areas that we approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any question or discussion? Mrs. Saradaki, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes.
Mrs. Boroff?
Yes.
Mrs. Brody?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Mast. In accordance with the Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools Bylaw 0164-0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments. Maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you come to the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside.
May I insert something before people consider coming to the mic?
Go right ahead.
We have been working on a document to consider the impact on lights and the neighbors. We are, looking to bring the neighbor group together so we can have a discussion and, minimize the impact that the lights could have. So, for example, we're looking to answer the questions like, on the occasions of big events, can we restrict parking on your streets? Can we assign parking locations in our existing parking lots? Can we have buildings and ground teams provide support to ensure there is no impact to adjacent properties because of night events? Can we publish an event calendar and create clear parameters of when lights are turned off? Can we consider having certain nights clearly defined as no light nights? We did hear the questions that you brought forward, and we do want to have a task force to make it the best for our neighbors. We do want to consider you. So,
Thank you, Dr. Mast. So the mic is open for whoever would like to address the board at this time.
Good evening. Michael Schweitzer, Scotch Plains, Old Farm Road. Thank you very much for your statement there that you are considering how the impacts of lighting will affect the neighbors. I definitely would like to myself be part of that discussion, as well as all the other neighbors and folks involved. I do believe that lighting may be a good idea. However, it is the impacts before, during, and after the events that I'm very much concerned about, not just for myself, but for all folks involved, be it traffic, be it parking, be it trash. You said you were looking to address some of those items, and these are definitely things that I think needs to be part of a community discussion, and I look forward to that discussion. My concerns are those shared with some of the other folks who have concerns, but I do believe that we must do what is right for everybody in the community, not just the school system. It has to be right and a fit for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schweitzer.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matt Tibbles. I live at 2396 Channing Avenue in Scotch Plains. I also happen to be the high school booster president, so obviously I have a lot vested in this. It will improve our ability to raise money to help with programs that the Board of Ed can't afford. And that's not a lot. They do cover a lot, but this will give us the opportunity to help some of those other programs, our pay-for-play sports. Maybe we could raise enough money where we could offset some of the impact on our families that some have 2 and 3 athletes playing pay-for-play sports. Perhaps we could raise enough money to make some of that go away. So selfishly, the lights, I think, would help the booster program as well as our athletes from our youth levels all the way up through the high school. I think it will attract families looking for a place for their athletes to move to, and I think it will bring very quality people into our town. Not that we need any more, but it'd be nice to have some more athletes here, as well as the band, who I've spoken with the band booster president many times about the lights. They are also very behind this motion. I apologize, sorry, I have Parkinson's. Forgive my shaking.
Don't apologize.
I absolutely don't know what your life would be like, and I am at the schools every Saturday and Sunday from 6 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. But yes, I do get to go home, so I don't feel your pain to the level that you feel it, and I respect what the impact is that you have. I'm sure we could work with the local police force to make sure that people respect your neighborhood. If someone's parked in front of your driveway, call the police. They'll have them towed. And I know it's not easy. I grew up a block away from Kaler Stadium in Westfield my entire life. I know what it's like to have we would have people pull right into our driveway. So I get it, and I don't claim to understand or disrespect you in any way. I just feel that the entire community will benefit from this, and unfortunately there are a few people that would be impacted, but I think the Board of Ed and the local towns, I've spoken to Mayor Marr, they're behind this, and they will work to minimize the impact on the local streets. And I know Mayor Smith was also behind it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tibbles.
Schweitzer, Scotch Plains. I just want to address some of the comments. I take an insult that we bought a house next to the high school because we're in a great town for convenience. And I mean, our area, our location is fantastic to get to all the schools. And our children had a phenomenal education here, and they've done great. I take it very insultingly what Mr. Harmer said. That's my neighbor. I thought that was very uncalled for. It's the noise, too. It's not just the traffic. We listen to the band to 9:30. There are families on our street with young children have bought noise machines, and we've never complained. We've never complained about the band and the clanking of the color guards going up the high school. It echoes through our whole town. We've never complained about that. So it's not only the traffic, it's the noise of hearing the whistles, and also, too, the language that comes out of certain coaches' mouth that does echo over into our neighborhood. It's inappropriate. Secondly, the young gentleman from the football team did a great job. My children went early for when they played. There were 3 season athletes. They were up early. All the teachers are available at 7 o'clock in this high school for help. So the athletes could go in the morning to get all the extra help they needed. My daughter went for help every single day for math. And she still was a star track player in one county, and she was able to do that. And it also, too, helped her when she got to college. First thing she was ready for finals, she goes, Mom, I'm ready because I know how to balance my time between studying, school, and doing her sport. So that's my other comment. Okay. Also, too, who are you going to be renting it out to? Is it just going to be our town, or is it going to be rented out to other towns for other games so you could have a profit? Now you're bringing in other towns into our neighborhood. That's a big concern because I know last time we went through this, they were talking about renting it out to other towns to make money. And the lights are going to be shut off at 9:30 because, I mean, the band, we take it from 3 to 9:30, but after a while, we just need to go to bed. I mean, it shouldn't be going on past 9 o'clock during the weekdays anyway. So it's a big concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Schweitzer.
I just want to add that there has been no discussion or no thinking around renting out the fields to other towns. I think what I said earlier is that we need to bring the neighbors together and have a conversation to move forward.
Because I've lived here my entire life. My father bought a house on Sunrise Road off of a farm. And many times something is said, and when it goes down the road, it costs money.
I understand.
Madam President, if I can, because it
Yes.
seems from some of the public comments tonight that there's a lot of assumptions being made about the status of the lighting project. My understanding, based on the last board meeting, was to allow members of the public to engage in what is a very, very early planning stages of an idea that the board is contemplating. And my understanding as well is that the board has made no decisions as to whether to move forward with the project, what that project exactly would look like, how the field would be used, what times it would be used, and all of these things are still in a very early planning stages, if that's correct.
That is correct.
Thank you.
No decisions have been made.
I'd also like to say that the letter that you did receive, I know you referenced it a couple times, and I know we're not technically answering questions, but we were trying to be proactive. That's, as the attorney had mentioned, this process is in its infancy. That was a courtesy to say, hey, come out and see what we're thinking about. It's not like a formal notification to the neighbors within 200 feet. It's not has anything to do with that. The other point I want to make sure that was clear is Dr. Mass' point around collaboration and transparency. The other point of the letter, right? We want to be in a position to collaborate and be transparent and understand what it is that the biggest concerns are to continue or not continue or move down or not move down. I understand lights, and I did not grow up here. I grew up in Clark. I've been here for 10 years. I understand there's a long history around it. I understand that the fields have been a source of issues for noise at certain. We're aware of a lot of that, and Dr. Mess is trying to gather all of the things that everybody's saying to document so that we can have a collaborative and very useful discussion between yourselves, the neighbors, the administration, and the police chiefs to come up with a way, if it's possible, to make everybody satisfied and happy to be able to produce this for the community. Like, Mr. Silvestro said, this is not a decision that we're saying we're voting tonight to go do this. This is very early on, but we wanted to engage you as early as the conversation started. Now, I haven't been around since the 60s to know what conversations happened back then, but I can only know that as a chair of the Facilities Committee, it's something that we brought forward recently as a discussion point, and we're trying to engage everybody as actively as possible.
You can't talk from there.
But just the neighbors that I've spoken to were very confused by the letter. I know it's just a preliminary letter, that when you do come out with one saying this is what we're doing, if it could just be very explicit. Exactly.
You'll know about it because it'll be already once the test, if we do decide to proceed forward, those conversations should have been well behind us that a letter was coming out. To the way that this has to work is, we're going to have conversations and dialogues with this task force. By the time that task force is concluded, the decision will be yay or nay to move forward as part of that, so you'll know whether there's going to be a formal notification of some sort or not that's coming out. So I don't want to perpetuate the conversation and kind of sit on words of this, and I think the next step in the conversation, based on the discussion that we had here, is that Dr. Mass is going to look to engage a group of neighbors along with her chosen task force members from her administration, along with the police chiefs, to conclude a meeting that will discuss all of those items. And that meeting may end up being 15 meetings. It may end up being one meeting for an hour. I don't envision that, but hopefully everybody's questions will get answered to the point where they're satisfied with the direction that it's going to go in. I don't know that the task force is going to take direction. I don't think that's all been established yet, but I think the point is this is the first initial discussion to open it up to everybody.
Okay, because we have a lot of elderly neighborhoods on our street that are going to need assistance getting here and everything, because they want to be part of the conversation too. So if we just get enough notice and they exactly know what's going on, because when I was talking to them, a lot of them didn't know what was going on from the letter. They were confused. And then I went like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding, not again. That's all I heard is not again. And I said yes. And a lot of people were complaining about the current noise and they can't get their kids to sleep, so I just can't. So I appreciate your time and look forward to meeting you. Talk about this.
Okay, is there anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time? Seeing no one, we're going to close this public portion and move on to business functions. Mrs. Saradaki?
Yes, just a minute. I'd like to group the ones that are being voted on.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. 1BUS, I'm asking for the board to approve the superintendent's recommendations for staff training reimbursements on the report dated January 30th. 2BUS was voted on at our last meeting. 3BUS, I'm asking the board to approve Susan Mendelson as a social skills person to work with one of our students in the amount of $2,500. 4BUS also was voted on at our last meeting. 5BUS, I'm asking the board to approve the proposal by Pupil Transportation Solutions, LLC. The owner is Ingrid Raitano for the transportation study at the rate of $85 per hour. This is a district-wide transportation study, verifying that our stops are safe, that our routes are safe, and that the appropriate students are being transported. 6BUS, I'm asking for the board's approval of the contract renewal with Jersey Professional Management, who handles and schedules our shared services meetings and subcommittee meetings also. And the fee for the year would be $2,575 for the Scotch Plains Board of Education portion. Equal amounts are paid by Fanwood and the Township of Scotch Plains. 7BUS, I'm asking for the board to approve Aquarius Capital to provide the actuarial consulting services required for numbers in our audit, and that would be for the fiscal year 2019-20. Every other year, they've been pretty consistent on pricing. Every other year, it's been $8,500, and then in the year that they're permitted by the state to just roll forward the numbers, it's been about $2,000. So, but that's been for several years. I haven't seen a
an increase, so good. 8 BUS, I'm asking the board to approve the contract renewal with Prevention Specialists Incorporated, who handles our random drug testing for our bus drivers. 9 BUS might require some discussion, so I'll leave that one and come back to it. 10 BUS, I'd like the board to acknowledge receipt of the district school security and fire drill reports for December 2019. 11 BUS, I'd like the board to acknowledge receipt of the fall-winter evacuation drills for Transportation Office. 12 BUS, I'd like the board to acknowledge receipt of the board secretary reports, the treasurer of school fund reports, and the budget adjustments for the month of December 2019. 13 BUS, I'd like the board to acknowledge receipt of the disbursement listings for the month of December 2019 for various bank accounts. 14 BUS, I'd like the board to approve bills for the period December 14, 2019 to January 27, 2020 in the amount of $6,752,284.41. 15 BUS was approved on January 23rd. 16 BUS, I'd like the board to approve Brianna McDonald Vitale as the musical choreographer for the Terrell Middle School show in the amount of $500.
Are we moving everything but the masonry at this
Yes.
point? So moved.
Second. Any questions or discussions on those items?
Go ahead.
Mrs. Bauer?
I just had a question about the timeline for the transportation study.
I don't know her exact timeline, but she's waiting to hear from us on whether she's approved or not. We're hoping to have it started as soon as possible.
All right, Mrs. Winkler, you had a question as well?
Yeah, I also had a question about the transportation study. We're approving a rate of $85 per hour. Is there a not-to-exceed amount or a max limit, or do we have some estimate of how many hours we think this might take?
We don't. She will be driving every bus route that we have. She will be visiting schools at arrival and dismissal time, and she will be checking every stop that we have to make sure the stop is what would be deemed a safe stop.
Okay. So this
I would guesstimate 10 days.
That's exact. I was going to say 2 weeks, so of
About
solid
2
time.
weeks' worth.
But this is part-time because she does work 2 to 3 days a week, so it may take longer than a couple weeks to get done.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I have a question.
Ms. Brody?
Will the bus drivers know that she's following the bus route?
I had not planned on saying it. Our bus drivers may, but the bus drivers from...
Well, because sometimes the buses stop more stops than...
And we more often have that problem with the drivers that aren't ours.
Okay. So that's why I was asking, because then if it's... Then on my street, they used to stop at almost every house when the bus stop was down the road. So, and that was not one of the district buses. It was
yes,
one of the other buses. So if she's trying to really analyze it, it would be hard if they're stopping at other places other than their designated
I think
stops.
she's going to know what the designated stops are, and that'll help
She's
her
going to have
evaluate why they're stopping at all those other stops and not the designated
Yeah,
stops. I
she'll
think that's
have
part
our
of it.
routes.
Okay.
So
I think she'll know which ones are designated. That'll be helpful.
Well, yeah, exactly. All right, thank you.
Anybody else have a question? I had a question. You had one BUS addition to the agenda, but when you said BUS 1, you said it was approved last time, but there isn't the addendum 1 BUS.
It's the additional
Staff training.
Staff training.
There was additional training that
there was additional staff.
I think one used to always be the staff training.
Okay, so this one then is the staff training, so it's a change of the number.
Yeah, it's the second page here.
Okay. Okay. Because I thought she said it was carried the last time.
Staff training.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Thank you.
before we changed around how we had it,
Got
one
it.
was always staff training, so
Thank you.
that's why I'm sorry.
Any other questions? Okay, then can we have a motion for those grouped items? Yep.
I have a motion, a second.
Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. And now for the one that we put to the
The
side.
masonry. Okay.
9B.
We received only one bid. We expected 4. 2 of the companies, very shortly before the bid opening, notified the architect that they were too busy because this is quite a large project. One of the bidders was still waiting for some pricing that he required to submit a bid, and so we only have one bid. This bidder happens to be a bidder who has been the low bid on a couple of prior projects that we've had, and he has done outstanding work in the time frame on those projects in less than the time frame. He actually wrapped up his jobs early. He did the waterproofing on Park Middle School, the foundation, and he also did last year the masonry on the back half of the building. So I just wanted to make the board aware of, even though we only had one bid, he's a reputable contractor. The bid is higher than what I expected, and I want to explain it. The first number is for the required work, including a base contingency allowance. The number B, letter B, unit price allowances. Those are all in case something happens. Say one of the decorative pieces on the building, it appears to be in good shape, but when they take it down, they realize that it has broken. There's going to be repair required. And so a number of those, and if you want to see the details, I can show you the details. I meant to bring the bid with me. But there are a lot of those type of items included in this $226,000. Those are what the architects figure is the maximum number of things that could possibly go wrong with pieces that they're removing and having to replace. So
And
that
who oversees that process to validate that they are actual pieces that need to be replaced?
architect.
So before the contractor will make any replacements, the architect has to sign off that they agree that that piece needs to be replaced?
Yes.
And the expenses won't?
He'll be on the site quite a bit.
Okay.
Alternate L1 is the first level of the school, because if we want to do the whole school, we would do L1 and L2, level 1 and level 2. And that's for some of the repairs that need to be done with lentils on level 1. Level 2 also is $120,000. Our architect is level 2 and level 3 require scaffolding. The scaffolding alone is over $200,000 for this project, because they'll be scaffolding the whole front part of Park Middle School on the face and 2 sides. Our architect recommends we go ahead and do, at a minimum, level 2. What he suggested in the letter, which was sent out to board members, was that we could wait and not approve level 1 and approve it later, because there are some cost savings that can be made on this project. And based on the number of repairs also, the board may determine that there are enough savings that they want to go ahead and do level 1 also. And you can approve that at a later date.
So that grand total excludes level 1?
No, that grand total includes level 1. So
You're
the
saying
board did
leave
that-
120,000 out.
100,000.
Level 1.
Oh,
100,000.
I mean, the board can choose to leave level 1 and level 2 out if that's what they choose to do. Level 1 and level 2 will probably hold up for another 6 to 8 years, but then you'd be going back and re-scaffolding and doing the same thing again. So, I mean,
Scaffolding is only needed for level 2, not level 1?
correct.
That's why they're suggesting.
Level 1, they can pretty much stand and do, because the windows are low, because it's
So basically,
half the floor
it
is
saves
below ground.
$100,000 in cost.
Yes.
To do level 2 now.
To do 2, not 1, not 1.
Level 2, yeah, to do
Yes.
level 2 now.
And we could go through the process, and I could keep you informed as to, what savings, if any, we've had, and the board can decide later if they want to go ahead and do
Does
level
the
1.
architect feel that level 1 is in good enough shape that it'll last an 8 year, 7, 8 years?
Probably. Yes.
I mean, I personally, I would move that we do level 2, not level 1. I think $100,000 is not worth at this point, especially if they don't need the scaffolding, and then if it's going to be another 8 years, we can forward plan for capital improvements for that project.
Right.
I think that's
Understanding
money.
that it won't be $100,000 at that point because
it's true.
They won't be on site.
Yep.
And just to be clear for the board, the resolution as currently written does not include level 1. That that's for informational purposes only. The
That can always
resolution
be changed, yeah.
The resolution currently on the agenda is to approve everything except L1, alternate L1. So the level 1 work is not included in what the motion is currently worded.
For my personal opinion is if there's no safety implication and it's secure and there's no safety issues or concerns with level 1 and it remains untouched, that we proceed without level 1. My own personal.
So you could move that.
I'll move the motion as listed on the agenda.
Second.
Any other question or discussion?
I have a question. Is there an estimate of if we waited, the erosion, how much that would cost? So it's $100,000 that we're looking to save now. If we waited, how much more would it be? Is there an estimate of erosion per year that would cost $30,000 a year, that if we waited, we'd be looking at maybe double, if not double and a half, in 8 years?
Oh, I think you'd probably be looking at more than that even, because just to mobilize a crew. But like I said, we can go partway through this project and see how the project is going cost-wise.
And I would caution, too, that once
hoping that we're not using that much of the $226,000.
Right.
Correct.
Because as they start doing work, it's like opening up the box, right? Once you start doing work, how is that going to affect and even further erode? That would be my only reservation here of waiting.
But we can approve this now this way.
Yep.
And if we find that there's cost savings in level 2 and 3, and they're still here, we can approve doing level 1, like, I don't know. What's our next meeting then?
This is a 6-month project.
Yeah, so it'll be
you've got
ongoing.
time.
So we can watch it as it goes and make our decision about whether we want to do level 1.
So is it possible to get an update, a bi-monthly update as to the progress of the project? And I don't know if that's something that the architect comes in and does, or Anthony as our facilities manager, or something.
Okay.
Can we do something like that? And that might be help.
And also, if we waited, can they honor that price? I don't know if that $100,000
Yes.
was something
It's
that
in the
you'd have
bid.
to commit to.
It's in the bid.
Yes, it's in the bid.
And if we don't commit to it up front, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we had a motion, we had a second to agree to everything except the L1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Sarah Decky, that's it for the business?
It is.
Thank you. That brings us to new board business. Does anybody have any new board business?
I'm sorry, where are we?
New board business.
Board business. Okay. Then there's no new business. Other board business. 1 OBB liaison reports. Mrs. Bauer.
Garden State Coalition of Schools met yesterday. Dr. Mast and I were there. And primarily there was a speaker, Mark Biedron, who was the former president of the State Board of Education. And he was there talking about a new organization in the state called, I want to say it right, SEL 4NJ. so social emotional learning for New Jersey, SEL4NJ. It's part of an SEL4US, a national network of state alliances promoting social and emotional learning. He's on the leadership team. And he was basically just talking about this organization, some of the things that they hope to do. They're really in an organizational stage, and so he was both talking about potential possibilities. They have some initial funding from the Jets to do some things around SEL, but they're still getting their 501c3 status and so forth, so they haven't even really accepted those funds. So we'll keep you posted on that, but certainly everyone agreed with him about the importance of social emotional learning and the impact on students in the schools and connections with a variety of issues from social justice to other things. So it was an interesting conversation. I would just also mention just things coming up. The governor's budget speech is on Tuesday, February 25th. So that's always important to see what he has to say about the budget and also schools and education funding. The executive director was just giving updates about Trenton, that they're all back at work and have reorganized and reintroduced bills because they have to reintroduce them all. A lot of the hearing, the main topic in the Education Committee was again around school lunches and so forth. One of the bills that they were talking about would require all school districts to hire a dietitian. You know, they like to send things down that cost money. So, Garden State Coalition of Schools is working hard to help them understand that most school districts have outside vendors who have dietitians, and we don't need dueling dietitians, you know. There was a discussion about that. On this coming week, on Wednesday, the State Board of Ed is having a very big vote on, they've been having a lot of discussions on assessments in the schools. So hopefully after that vote, there will be clarity and common sense that will come out of this meeting regarding testing. There was also just reminders encouraging everyone to be counted for the census, so New Jersey gets as much funding as possible. And then there's an evening meeting for the Garden State Coalition, February 26th, out in Mount Olive. And the guest speaker is supposed to be Senator Steve Orojo, who is a member of the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee. That's the news.
Thank you, Mrs. Bauer. Anybody else have any reports? Okay, a request to attend workshops. Workshop reports. Okay, 2OBB, Black History Month is February. Can I have someone pass the motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Second? Second, Mrs. Brody, thank you. Any question or discussion? Mrs. Winkler, will you please read the resolution?
I'd like to move that the board adopt the following resolution. Whereas the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education recognizes the extensive civil, social, and religious contributions made by African Americans, including residents of Scotch Plains and Fanwood. And whereas the board further recognizes the vital importance of affording all residents of Scotch Plains and Fanwood, especially young persons, the opportunity to study and understand Black history, both nationally and with respect to the communities of Scotch Plains and Fanwood and the County of Union, for the purpose of ensuring that our citizens, especially young persons, are fully familiar with the entire history of human experience. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education hereby proclaims the month of February 2020 as Black History Awareness Month.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. 3 OBB was deleted from the agenda as addition to the agenda. 4 OBB, 2020 Board Committee Assignments.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Second was Mrs. Boroff. Thank you. Everybody had time to look at their committees. Basically, there were no changes since last year, except for the addition of Mrs. Mitchell, who came on board with us. All those in favor? Aye. Nobody's going to be opposed. Motion carries. 5 OBB, we discussed at the January 23rd with the revision of the March meeting date, so it will be March 12th instead of the 17th. 6 OBB, Board Attorney.
So moved.
Second.
Any question or discussion? Yes, Mrs. Sardecki.
I would just like to point out that I asked Mr. Silvestro to change this to a 6-month contract so that we could get on the schedule of a school year starting with our next year.
Okay, so it's going to be
through June 30th.
Okay, thank you.
And then June, we'll be voting on a July 1 forward.
For a year, yes.
Thank you.
Any other question or discussion in addition to what Mrs. Saradaki said? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Do we have a motion? Okay, that ends the other board business. We move on to the approval of the minutes at this time. Can I have a motion that the Board of Education approves the minutes listed below for December 19th, regular board meeting, and December 19th, executive session?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Murray. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any question, discussion, abstaining? Mr. Murray?
Update to the regular board meeting that I was in attendance.
Okay.
Minutes that I wasn't, but I have a couple motions in the minutes, so I was definitely there.
That's right. Anybody else? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. And some more comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. And in accordance with the Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools Bylaw 0164-0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments, maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business would be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you come to the podium, please state your name and the town in which you reside. Seeing no one, we'll close that portion of the meeting and move on to the good of the order. Does anybody have any comments for the good of the order? Mrs. Winkler.
Thank you. I attended, now I'm looking for when was it? I don't have the date on it anymore, and every day has run together in my mind this week. Earlier this week, I say that. Earlier this week, I attended a program, how to talk to your kids about lockdown drills. We had good attendance at this, we had very good representation at this meeting. We had 3 board members there. Amy was there. Stephanie was there. We also had Regina Gannon, the PTA council president, was there.
It was Sunday.
Thank you. I thought so, and somehow, yeah. Anyhow, Nancy Kislin was the name of the woman who spoke. She is a therapist who wrote a book about lockdown drills and about how they are affecting students and staff members and such. The meeting was informative. It was interesting, and maybe there are some ideas from there that we can incorporate or at least look into. And thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Anyone else?
All right. Well, I have 2 things for the good of the order. Last night, I attended the Pops concert at the high school. It was just amazing. Not only the ensembles, so very good, but the student soloists are just like Broadway quality. So the other piece that I wanted to talk about was when we were all together at school boards in Atlantic City, many board members were very excited by a session where students were shadowing school board members. And we're in the beginning stages of looking to have a connection with our 8th grade civics curriculum, have students apply to shadow interested board members. There will be some details that will be interesting to work out, because if you are a shadow for a student, it's going to get crowded up here. But you will hear more about the specific details very soon.
That is exciting. Thank you, Dr. Mass. That sounds interesting. Anybody else?
I have something. I was also at the Pops concert. I saw you, but you didn't see me. I was sitting. I haven't been ever to a Pops concert, and I have to say it was extremely enjoyable. They really are very good, and the Moonglowers kind of serenaded you in between while they were doing setup and stuff. They were very, very good. It was a pleasure to go.
Thank you, Mrs. Brody. Okay, our next meeting then will be on Thursday, February 20th. Seems so far away now. But, so you don't get lonely, Tuesday, February 4th, again, coffee with the Board of Ed, Park Middle School, Dr. Mass, 7:30. I'm not sure where in the school we'll be. Usually we're in the media center. And then on follow up to that, on Wednesday, March 18th, coffee with the superintendent at Park Middle School at 7 p.m. So every month we have an opportunity to meet.
A lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee, yeah. So if there's no other comments, can I have a motion for adjournment? So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Mr. Murray? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Didn't think so. Motion carries. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.